at South Carolina. South Carolina, though, their defense is going to end up being one of the probably a top 25 defense in the country when it's all said and done, I would imagine. Maybe better than that. They're really good. So that was a good test. Obviously, LSU escapes. A lot of conversation in the media world stemmed from CBS Sports about the disconnect between team and Brian Kelly. Why is it disconnected? Feels like he's kind of separated from the team. Didn't look like that after the game. Didn't really look like that is the case when you come down from 17-0 on the road. People love to create narratives based off of one or two people who may or may not have the inside information, may not be their sources. I don't know. It's
people
kind of a weird
familiar
deal.
with LSU football have said, who could that be? Anybody. Me.
It could be anybody, right? You could be person on Tiger Droppings that doesn't have a face, just talks through a name.
Cocksuck 89.
Whatever it is.
What?
He could be, I'm surprised you went with 89 there.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh.
Yeah, surprised you went with 8. That number's a weird
I
number.
think the other one was kind of, that was
Yeah.
hot right there.
Yeah.
It was aggressive.
But you don't know who it could be from. He comes out. It doesn't seem like that's the case. Kyron Lacey comes out and speaks about how he doesn't feel that's the case. You can look at the energy. You can look at the locker room after a win. Didn't seem like that was the case. Seems like that's kind of a narrative that's trying to be created to have something to talk about.
Even if it was the case, like you said, the locker room I saw after a win lets me know that even if that's how they feel about him, they still bought in together.
And that's all that matters.
They still bought in together.
Hey,
That's all that
listen to
really
me.
matters at that point.
There's been a lot of teams that have gone on to win. The coach may be good at certain things and not good at maybe the players don't like him, and maybe they all rally around each other because they don't like the coach or there's something that's going on, and they play well anyway in spite of him. I don't think that's the case anyway. But my point is as long as there's a paywall,
got cut.
they got your ass. As long as there is a continuity between the guys playing on the field, that's the most important thing. Seems like they are doing that. I think it was Braden Swinson said that he could feel on the sidelines throughout the course of the South Carolina game the team getting closer and building that team chemistry as they're chipping away and coming back from a 17-0 lead.
And
Those
the
games
Tigers.
are the games that you feel like
Man, we came out
kind
here battle, baby.
define
Hey, go
us.
Tigers. This is for everybody back
Make the
home, man.
team
We ain't
allow
done
you
yet.
to
Let's go.
grow. Give them that confidence because you look at teams who are good, they know how to win. And they find ways to win. They do all these types of things. Obviously, you're watching this. Looks like they're having a pretty
I'm
good
about to
time.
say, you can think of it this way, too. Like, let's be honest. You know what's great? When you have a team that's bought into the head coach, that's a great thing. You know what's even better? When you got a team that's bought into a brotherhood of themselves. Like, that
No
plays
doubt.
even better. That plays even higher than just being bought into the coach. So I'm not worried about that, right? I'm not worried about that nonsense.
Not worried about it at all. And to me, like we talked all week, or we talked on Monday, majority of the show of why, they kind of squeaked through. They had some things that they had to correct, and that is all true, right? It was a sloppy game. It wasn't a game that we all expected or we wanted to see. But they won the game after being down by 3 scores and on the road. And those types of games, learning how to win those games, especially at this point in the season, especially after you lost the first game of the season, you lose that game, then all of a sudden you're like, oh, we don't really know how to win. Like, you kind of get that feeling at the end of the game, like, oh, here we go again. Instead, you go out and you pull through and you win, and now you're like, okay, yeah, here we go again. Let's go out and win this game. So I think that's always a good thing to have, and I think that the disconnect that is being reported, I think, is a little bit overblown.
Yeah, I'll add a little extra to that, too, because you got to remember, football's not a game that you get to play multiple times a week. Like, you get it one time a week as a player. So there is a lot of panic, whether people want to tell it or not. There's a lot of panic with young teams or teams that are not super experienced or have not played a ton together. There's a lot of panic that goes in 1, 2, 3 weeks into the season when you lost the game and you're down 3 scores in another game. Because then people really start looking at it. They start kind of questioning themselves like, hey, do they know what they're doing? Because look at the score right now. We getting smacked. Dude, why are we practicing this and this is what's going on? Like, there's a lot of that stuff that goes on. So to be able to have a loss on the record and come back from 3 scores down 3 weeks into the year lets me know, like, they're good. They're fine.
No doubt.
They'll keep rolling.
And that kind of brings us into a last little bit we're going to talk about today is Thursday Night Football tomorrow. Patriots at Jets. Jets' first home game of the season. Hopefully, it works out better. That happened last year.
Need more than 4 plays.
Yep, we need you more than that. They're 1-1. You can kind of start to feel that he's feeling better. Aaron Rodgers starting to feel more comfortable. They made some plays last week. Big test for them because obviously Patriots aren't going to score, and they're going to try not to let you score because their defense is, Gerard Mayo's got the defense.
Salty dogs.
Pretty good. So that'll be Thursday Night Football. It'll be interesting to watch. But we talk about learning how to win. We talk about what LSU did last week against South Carolina. They have UCLA this weekend. They open as a 21-point favorite. I don't know if the line has shifted one way or the other. It's a big line. To me, you got to see LSU go out there this weekend and dominate. And I'm not saying treat them like they're a Nichols or treat them like they're a team that you're going to beat by 50 points. And no, I'm talking about you're going to go out there. You're not going to let them get any yards. You're not
let them
scoring,
gain another yard.
Yeah, exactly. Moving the ball has got to be difficult for them. You've got to make their life really hard. And then on the flip side, offensively, you got to continue to do what you've been doing for the last 3 weeks and move the ball up and down the field, score points, and just say, hey, we are better than you, and we're going to show you that we're better than you. Move on to the next game until you get to the bye week. So, to me, that's what you need to see. Do y'all agree?
Yeah, I mean, they scored 16 and 13 in the first 2 games, respectively.
Hawaii?
Yeah, Hawaii and Indiana. And the 13 was scored at home against Indiana. I think this is a team that, like you said, I'm not saying that they got to go out there and score 50, but what I would like to see is you actually dominate the game and make a statement this game. I got to see the defense take a step forward. I got to see some clean ball on offense, which we've gotten for the most part. But I got to see the defense take a step forward this week. I think this is a big week for that group, confidence-wise, and for them to kind of be able to start pushing themselves to where they need to be because there's a big one looming in a couple weeks as well.
No, and look, this is a game where you have a lot of young guys that are trying to make their name, and especially on the defensive side of the football. And this is a game where you're able to use these guys and give these guys more game experience against a team that's better than a Nichols or better than some of these smaller South Alabama you're playing with next week. For sure, right? So you get to go play against a team that's kind of a middle tier, and no, they are.
South Alabama's salty.
Are they?
I said talent-wise.
Yeah. Sure, baby.
No, talent-wise, yes.
And
Put more focus in South Alabama.
And so you have the ability to go up against these teams and kind of hone your skills a little bit. Hey, we got more on-field experience. We have the ability to learn from the mistakes that we made in South Carolina, and you have the ability to get better, get ready for the Ole Miss game, right? UCLA has a quarterback, Ethan Garbers. He's the one who beat out Dante Moore last year, even though Dante Moore ended up playing. They weren't very good. Well, Ethan Garbers is not having a great year.
Ethan Garbage?
He's been Ethan Garbage. So far, he has 409 yards passing, 1 touchdown, 3 interceptions. This is against Hawaii and Indiana. Now, Indiana may be a wagon. One of those big wagons. But
Oregon Trail?
we have an old school Oregon Trail. We can go across the whole thing.
God.
Wagon, right?
Damn, y'all old.
Making sure they can take the whole
Don't get dysentery.
village, right? Came out of nowhere. So, look, they're probably better than what everybody thought with the name of Indiana on the schedule.
Coach.
But regardless, one touchdown, 3 interceptions, hasn't played very well. He only has a 54% completion percentage. And so, in my mind, that's hey, defensive line, get after him, put pressure on him. Hey, secondary, use this game to go out there and, gain some confidence. Go make some plays on the ball. Show me some ball skills in the secondary. Those 50-50 balls that have gone the opposite direction should be going your way now. And so it gives you a couple weeks, like Jared said, to put yourself in a position to be the most successful when you play Ole Miss October 12th weekend.
And you speak about the 50-50 balls. Look, at the end of the day, those would be great to win. Yeah. I want to see a more disciplined defense, and I mean more discipline up front, and especially – particularly in the run game. I think that's kind of the run fits and the discipline up in that situation. That's where I think they need to be better at. I think the better you are at that, I'm fine the way we've played on the back end and then the pass game so far. Am I saying it's perfect? No, it's not perfect, and there's better things that you can be doing. But Where I think they need to, quote-unquote, start really making steps at is the run fits. They need to be better up there, and I think that this is an opportunity for you to go out there and kind of really take a step forward and get there, and that's what I really am looking for as this thing kind of kicks off.
100% agree, and I guess another flip side of that on the opposite side of the football, you want to be disciplined up front on the defensive side. I need to see you be more disciplined and dominant up front on the offensive side and continue that momentum you built last week with the run game. Continue to go do that. Move the defensive line out the way. The offensive line is supposed to be the strength. They did not have a great game last week against South Carolina. I'd like to see them come out and rebound and have that game this weekend against UCLA. So those are some of the things that you need to see, all right? Not that I want to see, that you need to see. Because, as great as that scene was after the game of them winning and celebrating and being being with each other and having that chemistry, you've got to build on what that is, and that starts with the on-the-field performance and the on-field. The more you do that, and the saltier you get on defense, and the more discipline you get, and the better you're playing, the more fun those locker rooms are going to be as the season goes on.
Yeah, I think it's going to be one thing that the game will be judged upon, and if there's big play busts on the defensive side.
Right.
Everybody keeps pointing to that as opposed to looking at the turnovers that LSU was starting to create and the havoc rate. All of these things where you didn't see any of that last year. It's come out in spades this year, and that's obviously through one person, same players. And Blake Baker has implemented a new defense and a new defensive plan that creates chaos on the offense. But with that comes the opportunity to hit big plays where you're not expecting it, but because you're bringing so much pressure and trying to do so many things defensively, it comes down to one or two players that you have to make a tackle. I believe that if LSU goes into UCLA, and regardless of score, the questions will be, did you give up a 65, 75, 85-yard touchdown?
Right, because here's the deal, right? We said South Carolina ran for 247.
I'm so bright.
You can't talk about, but they only had 3 big plays. That's part of the game, right? But if you cut down in the future, if you cut down that, it wasn't like, and Jared made a good point before the show started, it wasn't like South Carolina every carry was 5 to 10-yard gains, right? Yeah, they had some chunk plays, but there were moments in the game where LSU's defense didn't let them run, and they stopped, right? Sporadic drives, it wasn't consistent, and then they would pop the long run. So if you just cut those down in the future, then I think the defense looks significantly better. Now, part of that is because of the not being disciplined in your run fits and not being disciplined in what your role is, and I think that's the biggest change. It has nothing to do with talent. It has nothing to do with not being able to do it. It has everything to do with, hey, I'm just trying to make plays that maybe I don't need to try to make. I need to worry about where I'm at and let somebody else make that play.
Yeah. When I think about the other side of the ball too, now realize
Chris Hilton plays, you think?
We'll save that for Ask Mikey and Mitch.
There we go.
When I look at the offensive side of the ball, I'm sitting there thinking it's funny you mentioned Chris Hilton because he's one of the reasons why this person is getting the opportunity that he's getting right now. But I'm not saying that it's going to manifest in more touches and or more catches in this game because of the simple fact that you have UCLA this week. I'm not sure exactly how competitive they'll be. And then you got South Alabama next week. But because of the game that's looming and because of what it's going to mean to the rest of your season going forward, I would imagine that they're going to kind of keep some of these new wrinkles that they probably have or want to introduce or want to bring in the game. Sure, they're going to kind of try to keep these under wraps. I want to see how much more run, how many more snaps, how much more involved is Aaron Anderson going to be?
Yeah.
Because, let's be honest, with the absences of the players, of the Kyle Parkers, of the Chris Hiltons, the guys that have been hurt, he's gotten a chance to play more, and he's popped.
Yeah.
To be straight up.
He had 2 big plays down the field.
He's been
week.
2 weeks in a row or 2 games in a row. He's been a lot on the chunk side of it. And it's like, hey, if we could start getting, because if you remember, take him back to when he was in high school, dude, that's what he was. He was Mr. Grab Your Popcorn. Like he was a big play waiting to happen. And now that he's getting into this offense and you're able to kind of move him around and he's able to run the vertical routes, he's able to run the over routes, you can get him the ball underneath. If you can start using him in that role even more, oh my God, it opens up this thing, right? Because you already have a playmaker in Kyron. You already have Mr. Steady Eddie and Daniels, right? Like you're creating a trio of guys who can really cause you some problems on that side. So I want to see, like I said, Not so much that he's going to touch the ball more, or they're going to start manufacturing ways more in this game. How much more is he on the field, though? How much more is he involved? Because I think that's going to bode into what's going to happen 3 weeks from now.
So you look at his stat line last week, he had 5 catches for 96 yards. He led the team in receiving yards, right? So it wasn't gimmicky plays. It was, hey, you're going to be in the flow of the offense. You're going to be running deep routes. And they threw to him in crucial situations.
Yeah.
And, sometimes you need someone, like we talked about on Monday, you need someone to step up when they need you to step up. Caden Durham did that at the running back position. Aaron Anderson's done that since the season started. Hey, we haven't had Chris Hilton. Who's going to be our number 3? Who's going to be the deep threat over the top? I think he's starting to find that way. I would also like to see them get Xavier Thomas the ball more. Somehow, some way, give him the ball. And look, with the way they're utilizing Xavier Thomas is the way that I thought they were going to utilize Aaron Anderson. I thought it was going to be flipped before the year because Xavier Thomas, a little bit bigger. It feels like he's not the same size as Aaron Anderson. He's kind of the same skill set, but a little bit bigger of a wide receiver. So I thought he was going to be in routes a lot more than he has been. Aaron Anderson has obviously taken that role. So
also with
I'm
him
with
too.
you, though.
And look, they've done it a couple times throughout the season so far. But because of how successful Caden Durham was able to come in and play in the backfield, his size and his ability is very much like Xavier Thomas, right? And you would imagine like, hey, okay, we've given him the ball out the backfield a couple of times in his pop. If we don't feel like we're really getting what we need out of the other 2 backs, we can still keep finding ways to mix him in that number as well.
Right.
And so, like, I do think like stuff like that is going to happen. Like I said, you got 2 weeks where you don't need to be super pretty. You just need to go dominate.
Yep.
I'm not sure how much you're going to see that before you get to Ole Miss.
And that was going to be my question: is how much do you think that they show offensively?
I mean, look, you want to go out there and you're not suppressing the playbook, but the stuff that you've put on tape in 3 weeks already, you want to be able to kind of go out there and refine those things and really be able to run those things at will right now. And then obviously these new wrinkles and this new stuff, because let's be honest, they do like really good coordinators. They don't just prepare for that game that week. Like they've been preparing for that game. So you would imagine that maybe they're probably not opening this stuff up in these games right now. We'll see. But like I said, I don't expect it to really be – I don't expect it to be so different here as far as for what you see. But maybe you see Xavier Thomas motioned into the backfield more. Maybe he's not actually touching the ball, but just getting the mind on it, he's there. Getting in the feel, he's there. That's those things I kind of look for.
San Francisco.
Yeah.
Right? San Francisco, the 49ers do that a lot with their wide receivers. Debo, obviously, is kind of a running back / more of a wide receiver, but running back / wide receiver.
Get him the football.
Right. Get him the ball no matter where he's at. He's in the formation, so the defense takes into that account, right? The running back's not there. He's not, but now he's a running back, and so defense is kind of in a different situation they probably want to be in. And Xavier Thomas, obviously, with the ball at the backfield, looks good running. Look,
it's natural.
Exactly. Being a running back, it's a lot about vision, a lot about understanding or angles, understanding where the hole is going to be and where your cutback lanes are going to be. Wide receiver is not necessarily that way. It's more about running the route first, catching the ball second, right? Making sure you're open, right? And he can attest that. He was a wide receiver. Right? You're not getting the ball at the line of scrimmage and saying, hey, okay, follow your blockers and maneuver your way through it. So it's kind of an adjustment. He does that really well. It seems like he's got part of why he's probably a really good punt returner.
I mean, it's 100% why he's a good punt returner.
He's a
playmaker. He's really good with the ball in his hand. He's able to do things when the ball is in his hand. And I'm not at all saying that he can't play receiver and he can't do those things. I'm not saying that as well. But usually, good coaches, when you have guys that you identify that can do that really well, you start trying to find ways to get him the ball all the time. And I think that's kind of something they've been working in there very slowly. I would imagine that they're still going to be kind of slow right now. Because, like I said, when you get to that game next month against Ole Miss, you want to be clicking on all cylinders and not actually have every trick that's in the bag kind of out there and already seen a little bit.
Right. And then Kyle Parker looks like he's getting back healthy, right? He wasn't really healthy last week.
No, he's a gamer.
He gutted it out, dude. Like, good for him. Trying to get back out there. I think he understands, like, hey, your best availability or your best ability. Best ability is availability. Like, I got to be available. I got to be out there. I also got to show these guys that I'm willing to be out there when I'm not 100%. I'm not making a dig at anybody. but he was out there and he was grinding. I'd like to see Chris Hilton back on the field at some point. It doesn't.
He can also run a deep dig.
I mean, I'm not in the locker room. I don't have.
Yeah, I don't know.
Against,
I don't know anything
I don't
about
have
him.
anything against him, but all I know is that we don't know of anything that's broken or anything that's torn. We don't know of anything like that. Like I said, they may not. Maybe they haven't given it all, but like if it's not that, we kind of need to see him get back out there. I feel like there's something that he can add to that room more than just being on the sideline, and I feel like that's where he needs to be.
Right.
The only information I have is from a medical website that said a bone bruise takes at least a month to heal. And then there's more internet fodder that said it's more complicated than that.
Depends on. I know what a bone bruise is. Depends on how bad it is, right? Like it could linger, and yes, it is it's a nagging injury. It's an aggravating injury to have. I'm not saying he's not hurt at all. I'm not saying because I know he wants to play on the field.
Hurt.
Right? I just
Coach, let me tell you,
you'd like to see him out there.
Once the day one when they put those pads on in camp. Everybody's hurt.
No doubt.
like that's where you get at that point. And I'm not. It is what it is. But at some point, got to be able to get back out there and kind of push yourself through some things, some uncomfortable things, to get to a different spot. And there's a lot that he can add to that room if he's on the field and actually doing it. That's what we need to see because it helps the team a lot more.
It's been a testament to LSU though with the amount of weapons that you have and how you've been able to kind of piecework this thing together with Aaron Anderson doing more things than I think he was asked of probably before the year, to where he's expanded his route tree, expanded what was asked of him. And I do think there's another layer of LSU if you add Chris Hilton to the mix of a guy that's a straight threat every time he steps on the field, because make no mistake about it, when he was at camp and he was healthy and he was playing, he was a fixture of that offense. And you saw them trying to get Shelton Sampson going a little bit. Like they're trying to
Did he get a target?
Yeah. 2.
And not around him?
No, it was a couple of like throwaways, and one that was like I think it was a shot in the end zone.
Was
that
an actual throwaways? It's not a target.
No, but he was the guy that they were trying to get the ball to. I guess the best way to put it. Wasn't open, but they wanted to do what Chris Hilton does with him, where it was you're the vertical threat or a big body in the end zone. Chris Hilton, like I said, in camp healthy, he was a mainstay of that offense. Like, there's a piece of the puzzle that's still missing, but I'll give as much, I guess, shit as Joe Sloan's taken a little bit for being predictable and not being able to. It feels like whenever this guy's in, he's getting the ball, and like it feels a little bit predictable, a little stale. He's missing one of his weapons that I think he kind of built some of the offense around.
You felt like it's been predictable?
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing.
You felt like it's been predictable? I haven't. I'm gonna be honest with you. I really haven't.
I do. I think there's been some moments where you go to the triple, what do you call it, the T backfield, and you do it 3 times in a row to the same side.
Coach, that's 3 weeks. Is 3 plays in 3 weeks.
Yeah, no. I'm just saying that's just the reference.
Yeah, I talked about that play too. I'm just talking about over the totality of a game. When you watch them and they have the ball, do you feel like, oh, I know exactly what's coming right here? That's the only time that goal line is the only time in 3 games where I'm like, all right, you can't do that.
No, and this is what I'll also say is that the passing game has been very much relied upon. I don't think that's predictable, but I think that because you've been, all right, Caleb Jackson's in the game, it feels like this is what they want to do.
Well, see,
Josh Williams in the game, it feels like, that's all I'm saying.
Look, and I know what you're saying. I'm with him. I'm not even arguing.
Well, I'm not arguing. I'm asking you because I want to know what you see as predictable.
So in my mind,
I'm asking.
There's packages of people that they put in the football game where it feels like this, that you very much want to get him the ball in this situation.
Well, right, of course. But that's any offense. You're just gonna have to evolve it, right?
Yeah.
They're gonna have to be in the game more, right? And if you go look at last week, there's a 3rd and 13 handoff to Caden Durham's very unpredictable. Whatever, 3rd and 9, very unpredictable.
Right. There's a reason you highlight it.
Right, and so, for me, wouldn't consider him predictable.
And by the way, just to sidebar, we never really talked about it. I wish we could actually show stuff like that, but that play was called by what they saw, I think, 2 plays before.
Right. Mm-hmm.
With the front that they lined up with and how they played it.
Fight.
The way they came back and played it, I think that's a whole lot to why they did it that way.
Right.
And it's, I think when
I
I look at
the
the full game, just me personally, when I've looked at how they've called the full game, I think he's been damn good so far.
Well, I think that, and I'll agree with you because I think that's a testament to what LSU has done is adjusted and in-game adjusted, whether it be defensively or offensively. There's been times where it came out like this was the kind of what you wanted to do, and that's going to be my next question, is Do you think that they force feed a little bit of the running game early on against UCLA just to try to, like, let's see if we can do it?
Well, they've been trying that for 3 weeks.
Right, but I'm saying a game that you feel like you can play with your food a little bit, do you try to see, like, even if they're in a run front, let's try to figure this thing out whenever you got to get it?
I don't think it's like a force feed. I think so far in the year, I feel like they've come out. If there's any criticism I feel about, like truly feel about what they've done game plan wise and how they've put stuff together, is I would like to see them come out being a little more aggressive in terms of trying to score. I think they've done a lot of stuff just to kind of see what you're going to do with it, and they've played around going side to side, and it's almost bit them in the ass a couple times, where it has one time, really, obviously, you end up losing one game. I feel like if we can kind of come into games, slap somebody in the mouth a little bit and let them know you're here, right, and push the ball that way, I think it'll start opening up that 53.5 that you make people defend side to side. I think that needs to be a little bit more of what we're doing, and that's what I haven't really seen them do. But I know you're not asking that, but as far as for like if that's predictable, that's not to me. I just don't like the way that it's been a lot of side to side instead of some north to south to kind of open you